what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the English Prescription Podcast, hosted by Headwaters Adventure Company. Yeah, guys, tonight we got a good show. We got Elite Series Pro Bryant Smith, California local guy. Some update on John. John is home. He's doing well. Hopefully, he'll be able to come back about a week or so and join the show. So, guys, everybody, thanks for your prayers and support for John. I know he really appreciates it. We appreciate the support you guys have been giving him. Without further ado, let's bring in Shane. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm excited for tonight's show, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it is. So, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Got to break in my new rod and reel I got last weekend.
Nice.
So, yeah, guys, went and got a St. Croix Tournament Legend and one of the new 7 reels. Awesome combo. And that rod is super sensitive.
Yeah, those 7 reels, I love them. And yeah, I've got that Tournament Legend Elite over there. I still got to go over and pick it up. So
yeah,
it's hard to get up there. But
busy.
Yeah. So. But yeah, no, everything's good. The food allergy tournament this last weekend went really well.
Congrats, Max. Good job.
Yeah,
bud.
Congrats, Max, Damian, and Danny Miller. You both in the top 3. I kind of slipped to 4th. I could not catch a bigger size fish, man. If my life depended on it, the bite was very, very, very tough. Yeah. I think top 4 had a limit out of 55, man.
That's crazy.
Stingy bite. Yeah. But, also real quick, just want to put prayers out to Don Pedro and Lake McClure. Both of them are on fire right at the moment. So,
oh, man.
There's a big fire to bust up out of LaGrange, I believe, there on the southern end of Pedro. And from what I hear, it's made its way to Barrett's Cove over in McClure. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So prayers to everyone who's having that
affected by that
evac. Yeah, affected by it. So
Jay wanted to know: did you coach your lure in peanut butter?
No, I did not. I did not.
Yes.
That is funny. He did tease me about if I was going to use peanut butter as my scent. So for the food allergy tournament. So good one, Jay. You did get me on that. And thanks for the call from both of you on that one. So
that's funny. All right, guys, let's get in Bryant. I'll keep him waiting. How's it going, Bryant?
Good. How are you? How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Living the dream, man.
Oh, you are living the dream.
Yeah.
Jumping on, dude.
I used to say that all the time, just kind of something you say to pass by, but you look back on it, and I look where I'm at now, and I really am living the dream. It's pretty crazy.
Definitely hard work, long hours, and lots of travel, but
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It doesn't come without its, bumps in the road, but I know what I signed up for, and I knew what it entailed, and I knew what it was going to take to get there, and I wasn't going to take no for an answer.
Excellent. Proof, man. You guys set your goals and your dreams, and they are achievable. Put in hard enough work, you guys can do it,
Absolutely.
So are you home right now?
I am. Yeah, I'm actually in my wife's office right now, but I am heading out on Thursday at midnight to go back to Ohio to grab my boat from a buddy's house, and then I'm going to go head up to New York and go see if we can chase some smallmouth around.
Oh, baby.
So let's what did I do? I shut it off. Okay, my bad. Let's get a little backstory, Brian. How'd you get into it? What did you catch that bug and love for fishing?
Yeah, that's that goes way back. I don't even know how young I was. I think I was probably 7 or 8, and I was at my grandmother's house, and my grandfather, he passed away, but he had a shop in the back, a little woodworking shop, fishing shop, gun shop, he just kind of did a little bit of everything in there. And I found a Bass Pro Shops catalog in there, and I guess I was probably 6 because I want to say it was like the 1997 Bass Pro Shops catalog, the big book that they send out every year.
Mhm.
And I just started flipping through it. And I was like, this is really cool. I think the thing that interested me most was it wasn't because I grew up on all the East Bay lakes where you go and soak some power bait for the stock trout, and that's all
Mhm.
you did. You didn't do
Yeah.
anything else. Like you threw the power
Yeah.
bait out and you waited. And I saw this catalog and I'm like, man, there is a lot more to bass fishing than just sitting and waiting. And
Mhm.
I looked into it a little bit. We didn't have the YouTube, we didn't have the podcast or the streaming or internet really. So I got to watch Hank Parker and Bill Dance and Roland Martin and all that on Saturday morning, and like, man, I got to go catch one of these things. So I remember my first bass. We were at Lake Comanche. My mom and dad and me, we had rented one of the pontoon boats out of the North Shore Marina, and I was throwing a 1/4 ounce chrome and blue lure Jensen speed trap, and it had to have been summer. And I threw it next to some trees. There's some standing timber over there. I don't even know where it was, to be honest. But I remember I didn't even get to start reeling. And I'm going to say it was 3 pounds. It was probably 1.5 pounds. But this 3-pounder came up before I even got to reel my crankbait in, and absolutely smoked it. I reeled that thing in, and I was like, "Oh, this is different. This is." I mean, you could say the rest is history because it just snowballed from there. But I kind of worked my way up. That was, I think I was 7. My dad bought our family a little Skeeter bass boat when I was 10, and we kept kind of fishing around, and then it was pretty small. So he saw how much that I was interested in it, and about, I think it was 16, my parents got a little bigger boat, and we started fishing tournaments. And first tournament was at Berryessa, and fun fishing is fun. I love fun fishing, but when I was in that tournament, that first tournament with all the boats around, and you're under the time crunch, and everything's just amplified in a tournament. And that was when I really I was like, okay, I've seen the guys on TV, I've seen the Bassmasters, I've seen Skeet, I've seen, Van Dam, I've seen all these guys catching them on the Elite Series. Like, if there's a way to go and get there, I am going to try my hardest to do that, because this is the coolest thing that I have ever done in my life. So I spent, let's see, that was 16 when I fished my first one. Did some team stuff over the next few years with my dad and then one of my best friends. Did some co-angler stuff. I think I was probably 20, 19 or 20. I fished my first FLW as a co-angler. Somehow I got lucky and won that. So that kind of, I won the boat, and they were giving away a little Ranger aluminum at the time. And I kind of used that money to kind of springboard into the next 3 or 4 years, to where I moved up to the front, and got my teeth kicked in, like it always happens.
What year was that when you decided to go pro?
I think I was 20, so 13 years ago. What was that, 2010?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was 2010, because I won the boat in 2009. And then I spent 3 or 4 years where, I would have a good tournament here and there. But it was a huge learning process for me, going from, team tournaments, one-day team tournaments, and as a co-angler where you just kind of, you're going where they're going to go, to now I have to make the calls. Now I have to make the decisions. I have to put the practice time in. I don't just get to show up and catch these guys fish. So I got to go find my own. And that took a little while. That took 3 or 4 years. And then, I just kept fishing. And I was lucky enough to where I could make enough money cashing a check here and there to kind of keep it going. So I got to really kind of hone my craft as far as tournament fishing goes. I fished every single big tournament on the West Coast um, for probably 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 years. I fished every big tournament. And that really, really kind of, I learned a whole lot doing that. I learned how to make decisions from the front of the boat. I learned how to find my own fish. I learned how to, different techniques, stuff like that. And then, let's see, it would have been 2021, I think, was the first year of the National Professional Fishing League.
Yeah.
So I had heard about them. They made their announcement. I think it was 2021. I might get my years off by 1 or 2 years, but we'll be close. We'll be ballpark.
It's fine.
And I fished their inaugural year, and I actually had a really good year. I dabbled fishing back east, fishing the FLW championship, stuff like that. But that was just one tournament in the fall. So I really didn't know what I was doing back there. I did fish the Opens in 2020. That was when they had 2 series, which was I fished the Centrals, and I got smoked by those guys. I got absolutely smoked by those guys.
Let's
Kind of
back
the
up a
same
little
thing,
bit.
right?
Yeah.
I just take the stair step approach where, we started at team tournaments and start having some success in team tournaments. Then I move up to co-angler, start having some success there. And then I'll take the next step to the boater side, get my teeth kicked in, work at it, start having some success there. So I've always had that stair step approach where I don't like to jump ahead of myself. I want to make sure that I'm comfortable and I'm confident at the level I'm at before I go to that next level.
Sure.
And I went to the NPFL, had some I had a really good year the first year, had a good year the second year. And that second year, I was also fishing the Southern Opens. And that was, kind of one of those, if it's meant to be, it'll be kind of deals where that was the last year that they were doing. You could qualify through 3 tournaments, and it just worked out that those 3 tournaments kind of set up for me. And it's funny because they were all the way across the country. Like they were as far as I could get across, but those 3 tournaments, I remember it was Kissimmee, Lake Cherokee in Tennessee, and then Hartwell in South Carolina. And I was fishing the MPFL, so I kind of went back and forth. And man, I just had one of those dream years where I had 2. I think I was 20. I was in the 20s for the first 2, and it was horrible because those first 2, I think it was January for Kissimmee and March for Cherokee. And then I had to wait all the way until October before I could fish that last one at Hartwell. So I knew I had a chance for like 7 months. And I absolutely obsessed over Lake Hartwell for 7 months. And it's like, this is my shot. This is going to be the best shot that I'm going to have. I cannot screw this up. And I had one of those dream weeks. I ended up getting second in that tournament at Hartwell, and now we're on the elites.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So locally, what year did you pick up your first win as a pro?
So the Pro-Am, I won the first year they had the Wild West Pro-Am series. I fished that, and they went to Meade. It was 2016. And, I've been really good friends with Gary for a long time. And he was like, we're going to Meade. I'm like, you sure you want to go to Meade? Please don't go to Meade. I've seen the US Open. I've heard the stories, and I know better now. But he was like, Meade is the fairest place you could ever have a bass tournament. Like, okay, I guess I'm finally going to Meade. So we went to Meade, and I caught 2 fish in practice. We had 3 days of practice. I caught 2 fish. One of those fish clued me into what I did for the next 3 days in that tournament, and I ended up winning that, that was huge because that was for a fully rigged Ranger, 20-foot boat, and that one really kind of it was like the money from the boat is great, and the accolades, like I won the championship. This is awesome. It's something I will always really cherish. but the confidence that I got from that tournament that I can compete at the highest level on the West Coast, that was what really, really kind of, I guess you could say, it catapulted my fishing career, because you just never know until you do win one, until you pop one, and then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you get that kind of affirmation that I can compete at this level.
Heck yeah. So you fished 2022. So you did 2020 you did the Central Opens, so you got your teeth kicked in.
Yeah, it was horrible. Yeah, it was
So
horrible.
21 is you focused on the MPFL.
Mhm.
That kind of gave you the confidence to try the Opens again, or was it
Yeah,
you didn't
so
fish the Opens in 21, right?
yeah, I tried to fish the Opens. I
Uh,
won't say that I didn't try. I didn't get in.
no,
It was,
okay.
yeah, it was, it's that whole deal where it's just so many guys wanted to fish the Opens. I didn't know the path that you needed to take to get in, basically. So I didn't get a chance to get in, which was kind of a blessing in disguise, I think, because what I learned from the MPFL, it's a very similar, like it's a bass tournament, and it was greatly run, but they also travel. So I got to travel around the East Coast and learn a lot of these new techniques, these new places. The old adage is a bass is a bass. And that's true for the most part. But when you go east of the Rockies, things change. Those fish get a ton more pressure. Um, the techniques that those guys use, the things that those guys target back there. Like, I had never fished a brush pile in my life. Like, we don't have brush piles on the West Coast, so
Yeah.
I'd never caught a ledge fish before. I'd never caught a northern smallmouth before. So many different. I've never fished a blueback herring lake before. So there was so many different like nuances that I learned that one year in the MPFL, that and having success, that I know I wouldn't have qualified in 2022 if I had not fished the MPFL in 2021 and really kind of learned not just the fishing thing. Like, I can go on and on about this, but not just the fishing, but how to travel on the East Coast. There's a lot more complications when you can't just drive home. So I had to learn how to travel, how to ask a buddy, hey, can I keep my boat at your house for a month and get a ride to the airport and pick me up? So there was a lot of that went on, but
Makes it tough for you guys on the West Coast for sure.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's a whole nother it's a whole nother deal that, a lot of guys don't talk about, because they can just, like all my buddies on the elites, they just drive home after the tournament's done. I'm like, oh, that must be nice. I'm here waiting on a plane.
12-hour drive, that's, that's like nothing compared to you coming back to California.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're on the big break right now, right? Between the northern swing. I just saw you post something. You're doing a bunch of maintenance on your boat. So did you drove everything home?
No, I didn't. That was actually a couple weeks ago, but
okay.
That's just how I do my social media. I got a big old stockpile of stuff, and I just kind of timeline it out to make it work. But yeah, that was 3, maybe 4 weeks ago at a buddy's house in Tennessee. And I'm like, hey,
so your boat's back there.
Yep, boat stays back there. Yeah, when I drive it out for the first tournament, it does not come back until the last tournament.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
That makes it easy. So you're just flying back and forth.
Yep.
Cut your 100%. Travel time down a little bit. That's nice.
Yep.
So you got your second place on Hartwell in the Opens. You had 3 top 10s. You've had 5 top 20s. And then you had your first classic this year.
Yeah.
Talk about that, man. 13th place finish on your first classic. That's
yeah, dude. That was, kind of to go back before the classic. Similar to Hartwell, I completely obsessed over making the classic, and we got to, let's see, we had to Florida, South Carolina, Lay, and then we had 3 up north. Okay, that's what it was. So, we had Sabine too. Yeah, we had Sabine. So
how
after
was that? Talk about
Sabine was rough. Sabine's a really cool place.
Yeah.
I'd actually love to go back there, but it was another big learning experience. But the classic after the Sabine, I looked at where I was in points, and I was like, these next 3. This is going to be the best shot I will ever have at making a Bassmaster Classic. I've never done the nation stuff. I've never done anything else like that. So I ended up taking, after the Sabine, I think I stayed for an extra 2 weeks. I drove up north and I fished pre-practice St. Clair, Champlain, and St. Lawrence. And that was a huge thing for me because these guys, not only are they the best in the world, but they're the best in the world at smallmouth fishing, and I was not. I knew I was not. I knew that was a huge hole in my game. So me being obsessed with making the classic, I knew that I needed to make sure that I knew what I was doing, or at least knew what to expect going up there. So I spent 2 weeks up there, and then we had a similar break to what we have now, where I just absolutely obsessed with it.
So which body of water did you pre-practice the most then, or was it pretty evenly split up?
I did 4 days on each of them.
Okay.
I did 4 days on each of them. I probably got the most benefit out of the St. Lawrence Lake Ontario because I showed up 3 days before the season opened. So I did not make a cast for 3 days. I idled for 16 hours a day, every single day, and I didn't have the temptation of going fishing, which I did at the other ones because it was open. I never had that temptation, so I literally idled. Like I think I left St. Lawrence with over 3,000 waypoints.
Dang!
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But that was
do that
it.
in a kayak.
No.
It would take a minute. But I mean, that was it. I was so obsessed, and I knew I needed to have a good 3 tournaments to make the classic. And man, it paid off.
You had a magical day up there in St. Lawrence. Was one of those 3,000 waypoints part of that?
Not even close. Never even fished that before. No, that was the funniest part. That day, I found those fish in practice. There was a group of them, which I don't know how many fish were on this shoal, but I fished it for like a half hour in practice, just kind of, let me see if there's some fish here, and I caught 3 over 5. So I left that, and I could see more swimming around. And then I had, it's funny to say it, but I had a big fish deal where I can go and target some more isolated stuff. And if there was a fish on it, it was over 6 pounds. So I caught 4 fish doing that in the tournament and in practice, and they were actually all over 6.5 pounds. The smallest one I caught was in the tournament on that day that I weighed 29. It was 6.5 pounds, but I caught my biggest smallmouth 710, 6 3/4, another 6 3/4. Like, it was crazy.
A dream day.
Yeah, it was 100%.
Set the smallmouth single day weight record.
Yeah.
On the Bassmaster Elite stage, fighting for your chance to get into that was the last one of the year, right? Yeah. Fighting for your chance to get in the classic, and you have a day like that. Against the Corey Johnsons, the Johnson brothers, and oh man,
it was wild. It was wild. Yeah. The cool thing was, and I think the reason why I had such a good day was I was kind of free. I had actually qualified for the classic. Like, I couldn't fall out after Champlain. So it really freed me up to kind of go take a chance and kind of go swing for the fences, if you will.
Yeah.
So I got to, kind of fish free, and I found these groups of fish, and I was like, I'm going to sit on these things for as long as I can. And, I really do think if the conditions, which is my fault, I should have changed with the conditions. But if those conditions stayed somewhat similar, I don't know how much weight I would have had.
Because there was, if I remember right, it was super windy, right? The
Yep,
first day.
yep.
So was it on the main? Well, I won't ask you that because you guys are going
Oh,
out there.
everybody knows it was on
But
Bassmaster Live. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So it,
So
it was it was really close to Lake Ontario.
okay, so but you weren't out in Lake Ontario getting beat up too bad, or
Um,
it
I mean,
wasn't.
I was still in the residuals, so they
Yeah.
were still like 4 foot residual rollers, but I wasn't in the teeth of it.
Yeah.
Um, but I was right around, like if I looked ahead of me, I saw it,
I
and I'm
remember. I
still going
remember.
up and down, like I'm still bobbing around. But I had just, and that's why I practiced there. I spent one day in the lake. It was our shortened practice day. I spent one day in the lake, and then I knew it was going to blow, and I wanted to have something just a little bit more protected, and it just worked out that that's where those fish were. But we had a wind shift on day 2, and it slowed up the current, and I could never find those fish again.
Interesting how that happens.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy, man. They got fins, and they like to use them over there. They like to swim.
Yeah, we think it's windy out here sometimes, like Clear Lake, right? It's blowing like 10 to 12. And it's like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And then
Hmm.
you look at, I remember watching that live coverage last year. Like, oh my God, like that
It
was
was
just
wild.
brutal.
Yeah.
It was wild. Yeah, yeah. It was. It doesn't bother me as much now because I've been in it, but the
Yeah.
first couple times you go out into a Great Lake in a bass boat, a 20-foot bass boat, you get a really uneasy feeling being out there, even when it's flat calm. Like it took me 3 or 4 trips out there to really start to get comfortable with, okay, if the wind starts blowing, I'm in trouble. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
going to be rough coming back. But it doesn't bother me anymore. I've done it enough. I've had enough experience. I obviously, I have my limits, but those are my personal limits. I know what I can do, and it's been a pretty cool kind of advantage. Like I fished the U.S. Open after that, and we're on Mojave, and one of the practice days it was blowing like 20, 25, and well, I launched at the bottom of the lake, and you can go up into the bowl where it really gets rolling, and there's nobody out there, and I'm just out there just yeah, this is really windy, but when I can see the bank all the way around me, it doesn't bother
Yeah.
me.
Sure.
It's when you're in the ocean and you cannot
Yeah.
see which way is north, south, east, or west. There's no bank around you. It's an eerie feeling being all the way out there like that in a
So,
20-foot bass boat.
what are you doing to your boat? Are you changing your prop out? Are you doing making sure you got to make
Uh,
sure everything's tight? You're not going to break any
yes,
graph mounts
yeah,
off or trolling motors.
yeah, yeah. So I try to bulletproof my boat as best I can before the season starts, but things, the wear and tear on it, things loosen up. So I'm actually going to go back. I have a spare day. I'm going to go swap my trolling motor out. A big key is, I run an active target, and I like to have that thing in the water. So if I use
Mm-hmm.
my 45-inch shaft Ghost, it'll actually end up coming out of the water a little bit more than I like. So I ended up putting a 52-inch. I'm going to put a 52-inch shaft Ghost on there, just so the transducer stays in the water, that active target stays in the water. I
Sure.
tighten everything up. I'll go through every single, graph mount, trolling motor mount, every single, screw or bolt that I can get to, all my motor mounts. I make sure those are all tight. I do swap my prop out. I'm going to run a little smaller prop, little more grip for when you get up into that bigger water. You can lift the
Are
front of the
you
boat.
are you doing like a 5 blade, 4 blade, sticking with a 3 blade?
I'm sticking with a 3 blade. I run a Skeeter now, so they're already naturally bow high. Like you can already lift the front of the boat up really easily with a 3 blade. So it's not. I don't think it's necessary to go to a 4 blade on my particular boat. I know a lot of guys do on different boats, and
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely a big thing. But this boat, I think I'll get away with the 3 blade just fine. I'm just going to drop down a pitch so I don't, it's not as much load on that motor for me to push through
Mm-hmm.
all those waves. And, climb up those 4-foot waves, 5-foot waves, whatever we end up having to do.
Yeah. So I know. So you're getting ready to go. See, last year, Northern String was obviously pretty epic.
Hmm.
Man, I forgot. You guys are going to St. Lawrence again, right?
Yep. St. Lawrence
And
and
then
Champlain.
Champlain,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I was sure to blank on that one. So you've got some experience there, definitely. So you're looking for another, hopefully, good solid finish for the year. Get up into the classic cut range and make your
Yeah.
second, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a pretty rough year by my standards. I haven't had that really good tournament. I haven't had consistency. I started out at Toledo Bend. I absolutely bombed it. I didn't get 100th, but I think I got 99th. And even when I have made a cut, it's been in the lower part of the cut. So Fork, I was 50th. Where else did we fish? Murray, I didn't make the cut. Wheeler, I didn't make the cut. Smith, I had a good tournament, but it's just been a rough year for me. But I did the math the other day, and somehow, if I get 2 top 10s, I will have a real shot at actually making the classic again. So that's what I'm going to go out doing. I'm going to try and make 2 top 10s, and
So in essence, you can fish kind of free, but not. You gotta really
yeah,
put the hammer
yeah,
down. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I was thinking about that the other day, and that's exactly what I thought. Is like, dude, I have nothing to lose. I'm pretty well solidified into fishing next year.
Yeah.
Um, and if I go out and have 2 really good tournaments, I can go catch up. So I'm not a bubble boy. I'm not having the worries of falling out. It's just me. I'm just ready to go claw back in if I can, and I'm going to do everything I can to do that. So that's actually kind of a nice feeling.
It's kind of like Matty Wong last year, right? He was
Yeah.
kind of on the bubble, and he goes up there and absolutely puts on a clinic too, as well.
Yeah.
So
He
it's-
fished his way back into the elite.
Yep.
That's. I mean, like I said, he was fishing, obviously stressed out, I'm sure, but fishing free enough to where he didn't have anything to lose. So
Yeah.
he went all in and just
Exactly.
killed it. And here he is
Yep.
fishing again this year.
Exactly. Yeah, and
He's
he's
had
doing great this year.
a couple of really good finishes. Yeah. So let's talk about the rookie class last year. Was something phenomenal. You were part of that. The rookie class this year is better.
Oh, they are better.
I mean,
they are better.
it's since Trey McKinney. Granted, he had the little whoops there on Smith,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That kid's 18, 19.
I think he turned 19 in the middle of the season.
And he, I mean, oh my god,
Incredible. Yeah.
all those guys.
Are. Yeah, all those guys are. And that's a product of kind of where bass fishing's been going. I think we have so much information out there, and we have these kids that are just so eager to learn. And what took me 5 years to learn on my own, they can go get a really good head start on it, go watching a Bass U or a YouTube video, and then, okay, I understand the basics of it. Let me go really dial it in. And it has just, it's been incredible. I thought we had a good rookie class until these guys got here.
Well, I think you
guys won what, four out of 9 the rookie class last year?
Yeah, four of the 9 tournaments, well, rookie won, but yeah, I think the overall average is way better this year for the rookies. I don't think there's a rookie outside of the Classic Cut right now.
No.
That's how good they are.
Yeah.
That's how good they are. That's insane.
Well, I think you touched base when we first opened up in regards to when we were younger, we didn't have YouTube. We sat there and watched, Hank Parker and Bill Dance, and we watched, whatever might be on TV. But, today, if you want to learn how to drop shot, you just pull up the TV and you're right there. It's all there, all the information you need. And
100%.
you know, these kids are all into electronics. They've been raised up on them. So it's
I
just,
think, and a lot of them come from fishing families, right?
yeah,
For sure.
And where the parents are totally eat up with it, and then you've got a guy like, just say Scott Martin, right? Because he is phenomenal with his electronics.
Yep.
Right. So he grew up, you know, rolling is no slouch either, right?
Oh, for sure.
Learn all the old school ways, learn how to do it, and then Scott gets live scope and adapts that to his fishing style and has done really well for himself. Well, now you've got a guy with all of his knowledge, everything he's learned from Roland, his dad, everything he's learned, you know, fishing growing up. Now he's instilling that into his children.
to Hillary.
And Hillary, you know. And same thing with like Freddie Rambonis's kid. A lot. I mean, here, what is it, Bo Browning?
Yep.
Browning,
Laker Howell,
right? All those.
Yeah.
So many guys that have such a wealth of knowledge and such a support system behind them.
Yep.
It's just going to make these rookie classes every year get that much better.
Oh, dude, it's going to be insane. Like, you look at the guys that are going to qualify for the elite this year, and you got Easton Fothergill and Tucker Smith, and like the list goes on and on of this younger group that is just, they're going to be in this game for a very, very long time. And to do it so young, to get there so young, you know, yeah, they're going to have their hiccups like Trey had, but they're going to learn from those things. And in 5 to 10 years, like it's going to be ugly.
I think this year's rookie class that will be coming out this year. Well, this year their average was like 25 or something like that, right? I think next year's rookie class will probably be even a younger average than that. You don't have a 30-something-year-old Milliken in there to throw the average up, you know.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be wild to see where it goes over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. So, have you seen a difference in the crowds and the participation with a guy like Milliken coming in the elites with the following that he has, and like Scott Martin, his whole group of people coming in? Is that really, you think, made it better?
Oh yeah. Like those guys, like, they draw crowds. They are entertaining. Like, people, I watch all their videos. You know, so they have a huge fan base, and it's so cool to see all those guys show up, and all their fans show up, and you know, you see all the 402 jerseys and, you know, all the stuff like that, and they got an autograph line a mile long just to you know, just to meet them. So you see just more and more people show up to these events, and it's super cool to see. Like, Toledo Bend was a huge crowd. Obviously the Classic was massive.
Yes, it was.
It's just, it's super cool to see all the fans come out and support these guys. And, you know, you get a little love, you know, kind of just rubs off on you. Know, all the fans love all the English, which is super, super cool.
You think over time with guys like that coming in that have such a huge influence, you really think that can take it to the next level? The elites in general, you know, to where it might start being a little bit more public, not so much us bass junkies that are eaten up by it and everything.
Yeah, I think where, especially the YouTubers, you know, they have such a diverse audience that watches them, pays attention, and follows them. You know, like I said, I've seen it this year where there's just a lot more people, and it's a lot more diverse group. You know, it's like it's not just the bass junkies anymore. It's not just like me and you who just grew up loving it. There's a lot of young kids. There's a lot of just different people at these tournaments, and they're all there because they're all now addicted to bass fishing, and it was because of the YouTube crowd. And I mean, it don't matter how we get there, as long as we, you know, keep growing. That's going to be a benefit to everybody in bass fishing.
Sure.
I think it's pretty cool watching his journey last year make it where, he had so many naysayers and everything, and then he goes
Hmm.
out and just, like he had, a phenomenal start to this season.
Yeah,
He came out swinging. So I think it's cool to see that. It's cool to see the light that they bring on to the stage
for
and the
sure.
organization and everything. Um, what do you think of the new EQ system? You got lucky enough to jump in after 3. So now you
Yeah.
got fit all 9. You think it's better? It's
Um,
tougher, obviously.
yeah, I have. When I first saw it, I thought it was what needed to happen. And, um, there's no doubt when you come through the EQ system, you are ready 100% for what you're about to get into. Not at
Mm.
the level that it's at, but you understand that you're going to go fish 9 tournaments. It's expensive. You're going to have to go dedicate a ton of time to it. You can't slack. You're going to know how to travel, how to fish different bodies of water. You're not going to get regional guys who just qualify maybe out of the northern swing or the southern swing where they're just good shallow water power fishermen or good drop shot smallmouth fishermen. You're going to get the best well-rounded group of anglers that you can possibly get out of that EQ system. The one problem that I have with it is you definitely took the working man, the guy that just has the dream but doesn't have $45,000, $50,000 to go in and 9 weeks off to go and put in
That's
the time.
barring the travel time, not yet.
Correct. Yeah, a week and a half, almost 2 weeks for every tournament.
Yeah.
So that is the one thing which I don't think it's a fault to the EQ system. I think it's a fault to just how expensive this sport is and how
Mm-hmm.
expensive everything is now.
Yeah.
Gas prices, tackle prices, staying at hotels, everything's doubled in the past 10 years. I would like to see, and I understand they have they have the federate or not the Bass Nation stuff where you can go and qualify, but it's an avenue, but it's not as good of an avenue as the opens were. And for me to have qualified through just fishing 3, I kind of have a little special place in my heart for those guys that do. And I was different. I was gonna go fish the EQs if I didn't qualify, but it's a more realistic thing that a guy can qualify through 3 over 9. And now that I have a son, I got a wife and son at home, it would be harder for me to go and try and qualify, especially, there's no sugarcoating it. The EQ payouts are not great. You're not going to make a lot of money unless you're really good at marketing or have a really outstanding year. So it's kind of all those things are just fighting against the guy that has the dream, and he might not be able to go and sacrifice that. So I'm not saying get rid of it, but I like the balance that they had before, where they took 12, they had 3 regions. Is it 12 or 13? Whatever it was, where they had 3 guys from each region,
Yeah.
and then 4 from the overalls. I think that was a good balance to where, the average, even if you knocked it down to 2 from each region and took 4 from the overalls or 6 from the overalls, whatever I'm not good with numbers. But where you give them give the average guy that can only fish 3 a chance. Let him have a chance.
Yeah. So we got
Um,
a couple of questions here, John,
okay.
our fellow co-host. He was one of the questions I had for you. I was gonna have for you. So we've got an angler that is gonna go fish the EQs next year that we know pretty well. What advice do you have for him, or what would you recommend for him?
Be all in. You can't do anything but all in. If you shortchange it any bit at all, those guys are going to beat you. That is the biggest thing that I could say, is because, a lot of these rookies, I mean, there's no secret. All they do is fish. When they're not fishing a tournament, they're fishing the next lake. They're practicing for the next lake, or they're, fishing a lake that's similar while that lake that they're waiting to fish the tournament is off limits. So you have to fish as much as possible, and you have to make that your number one priority. The opens are the toughest. It is the toughest tournament circuit that there is. The competition is harder on the elites, but the actual circuit and the parameters that you get from the EQs, it is by far the toughest. You're fishing against 225 guys who have all had 5 days of practice on the water, and they've probably pre-practiced all those lakes, so it's more like 7 or 8 or 10, 10 days total. They know these lakes in and out.
Sure.
And the pressure that those fish get, and this is what I did. Is he from California?
Yeah, he's a SoCal angler.
Okay.
So he knows all about the pressured fisheries down there.
Yeah, that's pressured fisheries, but these are different pressure fisheries. These are like, they are pressured year round, plus they're pressured for 5 days of 200 guys. Yeah. It's unbelievable the way these fish change throughout the week. And when I was fishing the opens, I think I would take 4 days and practice for each one. And I would make sure, I would go and fish the obvious stuff. And this is probably the biggest key to why I ended up qualifying, is I would go fish all the obvious stuff. Okay, beautiful main lake, point, channel swing, all that great stuff. 99% of the field is going to fish it. I got to go check it. Yeah, there's fish here. Cool. I'll keep it in the back of my mind. But once I get done with my rotation of like the super obvious stuff, I start going to like the B and the C and like the D plus spots, where it's not the winning group of fish, but it's the group of fish that I can survive on to get to the next tournament. That's one of the big things that I don't think a lot of guys talk about, is just being okay with not fishing your A plus spot and having a C plus spot that's good, but it's not great. But it's a spot that's going to have a lot less fishing pressure, so you're going to be able to catch those fish.
And it's a long-term game, right? You're fishing for points, so you can't swing for the fences every tournament.
100%.
You gotta play the long game.
100%. You have to get every point you possibly can. Yeah. Mechanically, you got to be as good as you possibly can. You can't lose fish, because you lose 5 fish throughout the season, that's going to end up being 100 points. And 100 points is a long way down. And then, making sure that you adjust with those fish.
Practice finding them without a net, right?
Yeah. And, yeah. But you got to adjust with those fish throughout. You're going to find some fish on day one of practice. Day one of the tournament is still 5 days away. So those fish are most likely, they're either going to get beat up or they're not going to be there. So you have to learn how to kind of you just got to follow them. I think that's big, and adjust to the different days, adjust to the pressure, adjust to the conditions, adjust to whatever is going to affect those fish, move those fish, and try to be ahead of those fish every time. Because if you can do that, then you're fishing fresh fish the entire tournament, and that's what you want to do.
Nice. So we had Max asked, what advice would you give to tournament anglers that are always on the bubble, always just one fish away from cashing a check or placing?
I was that guy. I was that guy who would always be close, but it didn't end up working out. And a lot of that stuff is just keep fishing. It's cliche, but just keep fishing, and you'll have the stuff go your way. But one thing that I did personally that really helped me was I really focused on my mechanics a lot. Casting, biting a fish, boat positioning, the list goes on and on. But those mechanical things, if you lose a 3-pounder on on game day, that's going to be, a lot of times that's a check or no check. That's going to be your cut line. So making sure that you maximize every bite you get and get them in the boat, and make sure you get every bite that you can get by boat positioning and casting ability. Make sure the mechanical game of your fishing game is solid, and then that will a lot of times help get that extra bite, get that extra fish in the boat, and get you in the cut line.
So speaking about mechanics, right? So on a boat, you guys can carry 30 plus rods if you wanted to.
40,
right?
15.
Yeah. So, I carry a lot for a kayak, right? I carry 12
Mhm.
rods with me. Now, we have technique specific rods, right? And everything. But let's just say there's, we got to fish so many different techniques on so many different rods, right? What would you say that would be the best way to combat dialing in like that perfect setup, right? For let's say mid strolling, where
Mhm.
you only carry two spinning rods. So you kind of need two all purpose spinning rods with you. You can't quite dial it down to the perfect rod, the perfect line, the best reel
Mhm.
for each specific technique. What advice would you give as far as to make the best out of that kind of situation?
Learn how to tie your knots really, really quick, because I do it a lot. I'm always the guy that I don't like a lot of rods on my front deck. Like when there's more than 15, I get like claustrophobic, and I'll actually, rather than pulling a rod out, I know I have a rod that'll do the job, so I'll just retie it really quickly. That would be the best thing. And for the kayak sense of it, is just try to find rods that can do more than one thing. They don't need to be perfect tailored to that technique. There's a lot of rods that do a lot of things that you could get away with, having two or three techniques for one rod.
Sure.
The rods I use, Alpha Angler rods, they make a lot of rods that are just kind of like umbrella rods,
Mhm.
where they have a rod called the Zilla, and I can pitch with it, I can flip with it, I can throw a spinnerbait with it, I can throw a swim bait on it, I can do like so many different things with it. I can throw a frog on it, buzz bait, a lot of different things. So I have always kind of went towards that in a rod company,
Mhm.
to where I can have, instead of having 20 rods with 20 different techniques, I can have 8 rods
Sure.
that can do those 20 different techniques.
Mhm.
Nice. And then Drew asked, "How do you prepare to fish out of state, a lake you've never been to before?" So he just won our Bassmaster kayak
Mm-hmm.
national championship qualifier. So he will be headed to Texas, which he better be headed to Texas next year to go fish the quote unquote kayak classic.
Okay. There's a lot of research. I do a ton of map study. I do a ton of Google Earth stuff. I do a ton of just research, Facebook, Instagram. Um, I like to know, because I don't have the opportunity a lot of times to go pre-practice a lake. I'm not going to have a chance. I can't just go drive over to Okeechobee and go look around. It's just too far away for me to do that. So I do a lot of it YouTube. Bass U is a great resource. It's worth the money. I use it to this day. Uh, but having your research and being as familiar as possible with that lake before you get there will help you narrow it down. Because if you go, the biggest thing I learned about going east is we have ponds compared to back there. They are huge bodies of water back
Mhm.
there. Every single body of water we fish is absolutely massive. We're going to the St. Lawrence, and we're launching out of Waddington. The St. Lawrence River, just the river part of it, we can fish 110 or 120 miles of it, plus the other, I think, 60 or 70 miles into the lake. So we have these massive bodies of water, which is what you're going to experience going back east. So you have to break it down before you get there. You got to kind of take this and narrow it down to an area where It's manageable, and you don't need to fish the whole lake. There's probably fish throughout the whole lake, but what you need to do is just pick a section based off your research, based off what you like to do, narrow it down to I don't know what the range you can effectively fish a kayak in, but I would take a 5 to 10 mile section of that lake based off of my research, past tournament history, stuff like that, and then I'm going to learn this section. I don't care about anything else. I want this. I'm going to know everything I can about this. And that's honestly, if you don't have a chance to pre-practice it, a lot of times that's the best I can do, where I just take an educated guess. I'm going to fish this 20-mile section of lake, and that's it. And if they're there, cool. If they're not, well, we'll make something up tournament day.
And you gotta have an open mind too, because when we went back to 10 kilo this year, we had the notion, Damien and I, of breaking down, the river section, like the river northern section of the lake, spend a day central lake, spend a day down south. Well, we kind of talking with the guys that we traveled with and who were in the house. Like, this part of the lake was blown out, super muddy. We're like, okay, we're not feeling the muddy section of the lake. Let's kind of stay down south central lake. So we had a couple days down there. We kind of found something we liked. Spent a day, went way up the river, super clean water. Neither one of us are really big river fishermen, so we're like, we checked the mark, checked the box. Relaunched again that day down where we're at, and just kind of spent a little bit more days than I thought in one area, but it helped because we're able to really kind of break that section down once you find the spot,
Yeah, get comfortable with it, and then you kind of know what to expect, and you can make those adjustments during the tournament. Whereas if you take, okay, I'm going to practice this 5-mile section over here, and then this 5-mile section over here, and then I'm going to go 30 miles down and fish this 5-mile section. Okay, well, I caught fish out of these two. There's no way I can fish both of them in the same day. Now I'm just spreading myself out too much. And, me personally, I'd rather have an area of the lake that I'm comfortable with instead of having to run around the entire lake and try to, learn it as the day goes on. I can have that area that I'm comfortable with, that I've practiced in, that I know what to expect, and then I can make my adjustments inside that area instead of having to run all around the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. That's where I'm fairly new to it, right? I've been fishing hardcore since 21. I've fished my whole life, and that's the thing is, you always hear about guys fishing this part of the lake. It's one up here, it's one over here, it's one over here, but it's been one in multiple different areas of that lake. You really gotta. I'm slowly learning, even though I do need to learn new techniques, learn to fish these lakes different ways, which is great for fun fishing days, right? Or just going out and goofing off. Taking your strong suit, what you're comfortable with what works for you, and focus on those areas of the lakes and try to make it happen there.
Yep.
What I'm finding, learning over this year.
Yep. Get to where you're comfortable. Once you're comfortable, then you'll fish and slow down. That's the important part.
I got to thank Troy Haney. He hooked us up, got Bryant on the spot. So one of Troy's travel buddies from last year, Abel, he said, "What's the worst part of being friends with Troy?"
That we don't have enough time in the podcast. No, Troy's a great guy. We've had a lot of good times in the boat together. We've had a lot of fun fishing.
Yeah.
So I guess question I have is when are we going to be able to get you in a kayak out here in one of these events and just go out and have a blast? And
Troy actually got me in one of his kayaks one day out on Folsom.
Did he really?
Yeah, and I was like, this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool.
His kayak with 2 motors and live scope and everything, or did he give you
not bad?
They give you a paddle kayak? So here you go. You got to follow me around with a paddle.
Yeah, and did he give you the speech on not to drop your iPhone in the water and your drive? And
Oh yeah. I
okay.
got that story. I got that story. Yeah. Now, if we could
That's
figure out
funny.
how to put like a 25 horse Yamaha on the back of it to where I can actually go fish the whole lake in one day, I mean,
Yeah.
I got ADD. That was the one thing. It's like, oh, I want to go. I get on the lake and we're paddling out. I'm like, already 50 spots are in my head that I want to go fish. So I got to be able to kind of focus to be in a kayak. It'd probably be
Yeah.
good for me, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it challenging. You got to fish that area.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like you said, you only got like a 5 to 10 mile range in a day, and you really just have to learn that area.
Yeah. No, that'd be a good way to kind of learn how to do that, how to adjust with the fish, and I like it.
Yeah.
It does. I do find myself tending to stick an area out too long.
Mm-hmm.
That's because it's like, oh my God, either I got to load everything up and jump ramps, or I've got to go.
Which takes 30 minutes itself, just loading up your trailer.
Load up, and then 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes by the time you get back to the ramp. So you burn almost an hour of just getting on and off the water, right? Not to mention the 30-minute travel time or whatever. Or do you make an absurd, boring hour-long run across the middle of the lake to go find something? You know, that's the hard part about it.
Yeah, that one's always tough, and that's something that I even to this day struggle with. Is I try to make fish work instead of going and trying to find new ones. But a lot of times the right answer is just go and bail and just start new, and it's the hardest thing to do, especially in the middle of a tournament.
Sure.
It's just bail on it. You know, we fished Wheeler, and I had a really good first day. I was in the top 10, and then those fish did not bite. They left, and I absolutely rode those fish into the ground because they were not there. Where I should have just, okay, it's 10 o'clock. This is not working. What's the worst that can happen? I don't catch any more fish. I'm already not fishing for very many fish. So I need to just go bail, start new, and see if I can land on something. And you know, the next tournament at Smith, I did that. You know, I had a really good starting area, I had a really good couple areas that I could rotate through, and those fish left, and I immediately thought of Wheeler. I'm like, I am not going to go down like this again. So I just started fishing fresh stuff, and I ended up pulling into an area, and it had a bunch of fish in there, and I'm like, see, this is what I need to do. So a lot of times it's just bail and start fresh. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Love to get a report and get back from the northern swing. And
absolutely,
I do want to get into your classic, but I don't want to do it today because I'm sure that's a whole other story in and of itself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one I'll talk about for an hour and a half. Easy. Yeah.
We're coming up on just over an hour. I know you're hanging out with the family on your off time, so I appreciate you taking the time out to join us today. And
thank you, Bryant.
Give us
no problem. Yeah, I'd love to do it again. I love talking about the classic. That's
we'll have to definitely do that.
I know we kind of skipped over it amongst things, but I'm saying right here, I'm like, man, I gotta talk to him about that some more. So
let's do it. Once I get back, I'm in, man. This is I love coming on here and talking fishing. It's my whole life.
Excellent. Yeah, give me reach out to me when you get back and spend some time with the family, and then when you're ready, just let me know. We'll get you back on.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Perfect.
Thanks, guys. So next week we're going to talk a little Clear Lake. We got a big tournament coming up in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. We got a couple of guys that usually do pretty well up there. We're going to talk about current conditions, what we think it's going to take to win and whatnot. So
a lot.
I
was up the other day. It's really good right now. No, I went up day before the BBT. I don't want to mess with those guys, but
27 pounds won on Saturday. I do not know what it took Sunday.
The same guys won with 25
on Sunday.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice. Matt Brandon, congrats, buddy. Finished 5th with Joseph Tax on Saturday, 24 pounds.
awesome.
And Matt
That's
had
awesome.
the second biggest fish for the day, 744. So they killed it up there. They had some boat troubles on Sunday, unfortunately. So he did not get to fish Sunday. But yeah, that's the plan. Drew had 25.5 on Friday. Nice. I did not do that well last weekend. I sucked pretty bad.
Nice catching them.
Clear Lake hates my guts. So,
Uh,
but yeah,
You're just in a little rut, buddy. You're fine.
yeah, it's all good. So, all right, guys, I appreciate it. We'll catch y'all next week, and thanks for watching.